Abigail here from Evening Star Astrology. I hope you're all doing well today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming to another video. I am so happy to have you here. Today I have your reading for your September predictions. And as a reminder, these predictions are based on where you currently are and the path that you're going on. You have free will. If you don't like what you see in the reading, you can change your life. You are, the driver of your own story. These readings simply reflect the course that you're going down now and what your September will look like if you don't do anything to change the course that you're on. If you've never seen a pick a card reading before, hello, welcome, thank you for being here. I'll explain how to pick the cards in just a second. But after you pick your card, you'll go down to the description box below where I will have a timestamp for each of the readings, and you can go ahead to your personalized reading. Now, to pick the cards, at this time I invite you to take a few deep, grounding breaths. Really sink into the moment, be present, and for today's reading, I really picked the cards based on the crystals. So I encourage you to pick your pile based on the crystals, but as always, remember not to pick the one that you feel is the most beautiful, but rather the one that you are the most drawn to based on your intuition, a little sense in your stomach or your brain or your heart telling you to go which way. But whatever makes sense for you, whatever pile is calling to you today, go ahead with that one. And once you've picked your cards, again, you can head down to the description box below where I'll have a timestamp for each of the readings. We have pile number 1 with rose quartz, pile number 2 with amethyst, pile number 3 with onyx, and pile number 4 with green aventurine. Again, piles number 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, I'll see you at your reading. All right, my dears who picked pile number 1 with the rose quartz on top, this reading is for you. All right, pile number 1. So at the beginning of your month, we have the 5 of Cups. And this card often indicates grief and loss and upset. And this can be with an external circumstance like the ending of a relationship or a work project or something that you're really excited about that just kind of comes to an end. This card could also kind of be something more internal. This could be the ending of illusions or a way of thinking. But in either case, at the beginning of September, something is happening either in your internal landscape or your external world that is causing you upset and grief. And if we look at this card, we'll notice that she's focused on the 3 cups that have fallen down, but there are still 2 cups there. You're not completely out of luck. You're not completely drained on your resources. You're just kind of hitting a speed bump that throws you off track for a little bit. And that's where the Strength card comes in. Because in order to use these 2 remaining upright cups, you're going to need to rely on your inner strength. And the Strength card, as you can see by this lovely woman here, is not forceful. It's not an aggressive, brute strength. Rather, it's a gentle strength, a kind of inner reliance, knowing that you have the resources. They're still there. Your inner strength is still there. You just need to make sure that you tap into it. These 2 cards together are kind of also telling me that you may be losing some external support at the beginning of this month. Again, at the ending of a relationship, troubles with family life, troubles with your friends, and your support system is maybe not meeting your needs. And so at the beginning of this month, you'll be confronted with that and have to learn how to use your internal strength to keep you going. But the rest of the month, as you can see, is really powerful and has good things in store for you. The 7 of Wands does indicate some challenges, but these are things that you're working to overcome. And as kind of like the in-between between the rough parts of the earlier half of the month for you and then the later half of the month, there are going to be challenges to overcome. You're going to need your strength to do it. But once you jump over that hurdle, everything becomes a lot more rewarding. You gain some more power and some control and a general sense of authority in your life. So again, beginning of the month, kind of losing your footing a bit, needing to rely on your inner strength to find yourself again, and then fighting. Relying on yourself is not easy. It can be really hard to gain all the strength you need from within, especially after a period of grief or loss. This is an uphill battle you're fighting, but you have the tools you need to do it. You have the cups here, and then, as shown later, you have a family or a support system. And of course, when I say family, I mean a birth family or a chosen family. This card is not exclusive to those you're related to by blood. This card also shows that you're going to be confronted with your morals and values this month, and you'll have to kind of figure out, what do I align with? What do I not align with? Do I believe this? Do I not believe this? Maybe I've believed this growing up. My family's always told me that this is the way the world is. This is always right and this is never right. And you will have to confront that. Do I truly believe that, or is that just an idea that has been imposed on me? Then we move to the Ten of Pentacles. And this is a really happy card in the Minor Arcana. There's prosperity and abundance. There's connection with loved ones in your life, again, chosen or blood-related family. And this also indicates security specifically surrounding your home life, like the physical home, and money. So whatever you're going through at the beginning of this month, I think that this is definitely a more emotional and personal type of issue. This isn't a struggle related to finances or anything like that. This is a struggle more related to relationships or your internal landscape. But I think that this card is showing that towards the end of the month, your family is going to kind of play a larger role in your life, and you will see how much they have to give you. You know, maybe you've been distancing yourself from them because we're all in quarantine and you've been taking things for granted. And now you're realizing to really appreciate all that you have around you, because you are materially surrounded by abundance. It's just a matter of recognizing it. And then we come to the end of the month with this lovely Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands is sitting here with this abundance, with this creative potential, this power. She knows her worth. She knows what she is capable of, and she's not afraid to ask for what she deserves. She allows her ideas to grow and develop. And while with the Five of Cups, we definitely feel some insecurity, I feel like throughout the month, you're going to learn to take these challenges. And I hate the trope that artists have to suffer to make good art, because I think that excuses a lot of suffering that artists face. However, the Queen of Wands is a good reminder that you can make something out of anything. If you're having a rough time at the beginning of the month, if you're learning how to overcome some obstacles, you can channel that energy into creative good. You can create something new. Maybe in your home life, you need to redecorate your room a little bit. Maybe you need to set some more boundaries. And remember, the Queen has power. She has the ability to say, yes, I want to do this, or no, I don't want to do this, or can you please respect my boundaries that I am setting? Making sure that you are stepping into the power of the Queen or King, or whatever gender term you prefer. This obviously is not exclusive to just women and femme people. This is just the archetype of the Queen. The Queen of Wands is also sociable and very interpersonal, and she knows when to go to people for help. And so at the beginning of this month, I think that you may be feeling like you're alone, you don't have the support you need, and you learn to rely on yourself, which is very important, and it's a challenge, but it's an important path to go on, to learn to rely on yourself. But also remembering to keep it in balance. You don't need to only rely on yourself all the time. It's critical that you have a support system. And so at the end of this month, you may be realizing who exactly is in your support system and who is not, and also the gifts that those people bring. And then understanding how you need to navigate your life. Because just because they're there to support you doesn't mean that they're responsible for your life. You're responsible for writing your own story, and it is up to you to figure out when you need to rely on your internal strength and when it's important to turn to family or your other support system. I have a couple of oracle cards for some wisdom or advice to help guide you this month. So I have seek inspiration in unusual places, coming together, and it's okay to feel feelings. Sorry, I had to reorganize those. So the seek inspiration in unusual places, the strength card really speaks to that, as does the Queen of Wands. Look for inspiration, and not just inspiration, of course, in the creative sense, but inspiration that helps you get out of bed in the morning. Something that helps you feel inspired to look good or cook a good meal for yourself. Anything that makes you feel empowered. You may not be able to find it in normal places, and maybe that's what the Five of Cups is saying, is that you've been using the same coping mechanisms, the same people, the same strategies for a while now, and those obvious answers aren't working anymore. So try looking in other places to see what's there. And then the coming together is really obvious with the Ten of Pentacles. Obviously, you're relying on support systems, you're learning when and how much to reach out to others, and understanding that you don't have to do this all alone. You have the power to, you have all the internal strength you need to do it alone, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. And coming together and relying on the strength of others is also really important. And finally, it's okay to feel feelings. With the beginning of this month, with this sadness that comes, allow yourself to feel it. Finding strength doesn't mean covering up these emotions and ignoring them in the guise of trying to be strong. It's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to experience whatever loss and grief this is bringing up for you. And also, with the challenges that you're going to face this month, whether that's internal or external, whatever challenges these are, understand that you will feel some feelings. It will not necessarily be easy and happy all the time. And no one is ever truly 100% happy all the time. That's completely unrealistic to expect. And so understand that it's okay to feel your feelings as they come up. Even if you want to project this idea of a strong and confident queen, even queens have their moments of stress or upset or fear or anxiety. And it's okay and important, critical even, that you do feel all of these feelings. All right, pile number 1, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this reading. And my new deck, also this tarot deck is brand new, so I hope you guys like that as well. If you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, let me know what you thought of this reading, and I will see you guys next time. Bye! Hello, pile number 2. If you picked the cards with the amethyst on top, this is your reading. All right, pile number 2, this is an exciting month for you. I feel like whatever September is bringing is definitely more internal and perhaps more spiritual. I say that because we start out with a star, and the star is kind of about finding your inner light. The star comes after the Tower in the major arcana, so after kind of a tumultuous time, which may have been your August, there's a clearing. There's kind of this moment of clarity of, this is where I'm supposed to be, this is who I'm supposed to be with, this is where I need to be using my resources and my talents. This is the best place for me to be, essentially. And this, of course, can be related to a job, to a career, to a relationship, or your spiritual journey. And maybe you've been on one path for a while and you realize, I actually need to switch to a different path. Or you may have been on the right path and you'll get a sign at the beginning of the month that affirms that says, you are on the right path, keep going for it. So at the beginning of this month, you will be introduced to a sign that points you in one direction or another and kind of provides some clarity. And then the Four of Wands is all about celebration. This can indicate a bit of a honeymoon period, because after you figure out like your path or your purpose or whatever you want to call this, there's this time period of everything feels right. Everything is aligning. I am on my path and I feel very fulfilled and validated. So yes, this is a really exciting card. I understand that this phase won't last forever, but it's really important to celebrate while you're in it. Because getting this sign, getting the star, is really positive. It's really exciting and affirming when you know where you're supposed to be. So during the month of September, you will feel some sense of celebration. You might meet a couple of goals. Usually 4s kind of signify checking off some of your to-do list or getting the preliminary steps done and establishing a good foundation for the rest of your journey. Then in the middle of the month, we have the 8 of Cups. And as you can see, this card indicates that you will be embarking on some sense of emotional journey. Your emotional intelligence will improve during this time. And after gaining the message of the star and kind of celebrating and enjoying being in the know, understanding what this sign is, you're gonna kind of go through a period of work. And the star usually relates to more internal matters, like more spiritual or emotional parts of your life. And so with the Eight of Cups, you're gonna have to have some emotional growth in order to follow this message. The Eight of Cups is also signifying that there will need to be some change, because as you find your path, as you align with the message and kind of celebrate meeting some of the early milestones, in order to keep going down this path towards the star, you're gonna have to make some emotional changes. Life can't stay the same and get you to the place you wanna be. In order to go down a new path, you're gonna have to make changes, obviously. And the Eight of Cups indicates that the changes that will need to be made are gonna be very internal. This isn't the kind of thing that you can take a training on and learn about, or read a few books. This is gonna require some internal work of looking at your emotional patterns and reactions and habits, and how going forward you need to change to align with the star, with your higher purpose and higher message. And the good news is, once you understand this change, you're gonna get right back on your path. And I should rephrase, because that implies that the Eight of Cups is not part of the path. The Eight of Cups is a critical part of the path. And once you kind of go through this potentially dark night of the soul, whether on a grandiose scale or on a more minor identity crisis, I guess, the Page of Wands is here to deliver some good news and let you know that you are going down the right path. The page often represents someone who's younger, who's naive. Here, I think that it also represents beginner's mind, a concept in Buddhism of going back to the basics, pretending that you don't know anything, because we really don't know anything, and starting from a place of not knowing. Instead of pretending that you're an expert, surrendering and understanding, because of this emotional journey, maybe you've changed the way that you react emotionally to different situations, or how you express your emotions. And the Page of Wands is saying, good, now that we have a clean slate, now that we've done that internal work, let's start on this new path. And then we also have the Ace of Swords to indicate that there are going to be new ideas coming your way. Swords represent the element of air, the intellect, the mind, etc. And so after you've done the emotional clearing, you've cleared out all the debris that's been holding you back, approach the situation through a fresh lens, you're gonna have new ideas and new inspiration coming to you. And so I think at the beginning of the month, you're gonna get some clarity, have a period of celebration, a period of kind of oh no, am I on the right path? And then again, another message saying, you are on the right path. It's gonna feel like you're taking a few steps backwards, but that's just so that you can get into your beginner's mind and start fresh. And once you do, you'll receive news and inspiration and the resources, intellectual resources, i.e. books, podcasts, teachers, etc., whatever you need to continue guiding you on this path on the more intellectual level. All right, and I have some oracle cards as well to kind of give some advice and wisdom to match this reading. So we start off with, it's not a competition. I just got chills. That is so perfect for this reading. Seeing things for what they are and notice predictable rhythms. Oh my gosh. All right, let's dive in. All right, so it's not a competition. I think that this is so important because this month is going to kind of make you feel like you don't know anything. You may not be producing at the same level you've been producing. You may kind of need to scale back on your commitments or your engagement with the outside world. You may need to go within more. Understanding that it's not a competition and where you are is exactly where you need to be. The star is going to point you towards a path, whether it's the same as everyone else and affirms that that is the place for you to go. It may also show you down a completely different path that you don't know very much about. Understanding that it's not a competition and you are not defined by what you produce. Internal work is often more critical than external work or production. And understanding that just because you don't have very much to show doesn't mean that you're not doing the important work on the inside. Next, we have seeing things for what they are. And I think that these two cards down here, the Page of Wands and the Ace of Swords, are really pointing to that. There are going to be new things coming your way, and accepting them as they are, seeing things without the lens that you've been conditioned to see through your entire life. I think that's also part of the journey of the Eight of Cups, is understanding I have been conditioned like this my entire life. I have always thought this in response to this. I've always reacted emotionally to this in this way. And so seeing them for what they are, seeing new information for what it is, new opportunities for what they are, but then also your emotional habits and reactions for what they are. And again, without judgment, it's not a competition. You're not competing against anyone. You are just learning to see things as they are and understanding them for yourself. And then finally, we have notice predictable rhythms. And I think that also especially ties in with the Eight of Cups, because the emotional patterns that you're going to uncover when you kind of go on this emotional journey with the Eight of Cups is going to show you where your rhythms are, where you've been doing the same thing again and again. Do you always jump to anger when you feel jealous or hurt? Do you shut down? Noticing your patterns can kind of help you break them down. You know, admitting a problem is the first step. And not necessarily saying that that's a problem, just recognizing that you do have a pattern. You always do things in the same way. And noticing that so you can know where you need to stop doing things and what routines and rhythms are actually helpful for you. All right, pile number 2, I think that is all I have for you today. I'm very excited for you to embark on this new spiritual or internal journey this month. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe, etc. Also, I hope you enjoyed this new deck that I just bought and that the street noise wasn't too bad. I just moved so it's a little bit loud. In any case, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to this reading, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, pile number 3. If you picked the cards with the onyx on top, this reading is for you. All right, group number 3, diving into your reading. We start off with the Ace of Cups, indicating that the beginning of the month is going to bring you good news, specifically in the spheres of romance, emotion, relationships, or family life. As you can see, this cup is abundant. There's a lot of love to give here. And this is going to be a very happy time of the month for you, simply because you're kind of tapping into this emotional, nurturing, intuitive, and loving side of yourself. However, it's quickly followed by the Tower. And as you can see, the Tower indicates a destruction of some kind. And I'm not saying that you're going to get into a relationship on September 1st and then on September 5th, it's going to come crumbling down and it's going to be a dramatic disaster. However, I do think that sometimes when we get into periods of love or we start on new journeys, aces indicate beginnings of some sort, it can kind of bring up old trauma. And when we receive love, especially love that we are maybe not used to receiving, there's the tendency to get defensive and kind of question, do I deserve this? Why is this person being so kind to me? Or just slipping back into old destructive habits or dynamics that you've played out in previous relationships. Obviously, the lesson with the Tower is sometimes you just need to let it fall. You just need to let it play out. If you get defensive upon engaging in a new relationship, understanding that you just need to let yourself feel that. Whatever emotions or patterns or habits, dynamics, etc., whatever comes up, allow yourself to feel it. It's going to be worse if you try and reinforce these walls. They're already falling. So at this point, you just kind of need to let them fall and deal with the damage afterwards. Another signification that I'm getting from these two is an insecurity of some sort. And insecurity is usually related when the Ace of Cups is reversed. But I think next to the Tower, there's this kind of belief of there are these good things coming into my life. What did I do to deserve them? And feeling insecure in yourself or that you are not deserving or worthy of this. And so kind of working through that dynamic at the beginning of the month, that you are worthy of everything that comes into your life because of your Tower that's crumbling down, and not in spite of it is really important. Also, making sure that you hold space for both the Ace of Cups and the Tower, and don't lean into either one of them too much. Then towards the middle of the month, we move on to the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords is about truth and determination, understanding the intellectual power, and taking things from a more cerebral approach rather than tapping into your emotional or intuitive side. These two cards are both very emotionally intense and driven, this one in a good way, this one in a not so good way. And so the middle of the month kind of leveling out and kind of bringing your mind back into balance. In DBT, there's a Venn diagram that gets talked about a lot between your emotional mind and then your logical mind. And then in the middle, you have your rational mind. You need your emotions. Your emotions are really important. They teach you something. At the same time, we don't want to rely too heavily on that. And at the beginning of the month, to step back into your rational mind, which, like the Justice card, is the epitome of rational, you do need to employ some more of your intellectual and cerebral skills or approaches. Instead of viewing things from a reactive or emotional place, taking a second to think, why am I reacting this way? If I take a step back, does the issue become a bit smaller? And if not, what are some ways that I can work through the situation in a logical way that makes sense? This card can also indicate drama and stress. So understanding that with these, highly volatile, maybe is not quite the right word, but demanding situations from these two, understanding that there will be drama and stress that comes from it. But again, taking a logical approach if you can, instead of reacting emotionally. And then next we have the Justice card. And in the first part of this reading, we've been like bouncing back and forth between the extremes of highly emotional and then highly intellectual, and kind of like the diametrically opposed tug of war there. And then we have the Justice card, who sits in the middle. She also has a sword, but she has the scales, understanding that there needs to be some element of balance. And again, approaching that balance through a logical standpoint, through a just and fair standpoint. And I think that this card may also bring some clarity, because the Knight of Swords, even though the swords do represent logic and intellect, there's usually this idea that intellectual is good or right, and emotions are wrong and bad and unpredictable. The Knight of Swords does kind of like to get caught up in drama. The Knight of Swords needs mental stimulation, and drama can be really mentally stimulating. And so the Justice card is kind of bringing this back into balance and putting things into perspective. I'm not trying to diminish the Tower, because the Tower is a really powerful card and indicates that there is going to be some breaking down in your life at the beginning of the month. But also the Justice card puts it into perspective. And also the Justice card kind of lays down the law. It gives out the punishment or compensation that is appropriate. The Justice card is going back to the Tower, to this event, and not the drama surrounding it, but really diving deep into the event. And this, of course, could be done in therapy. This could be done in an internal way. This could be through having a conversation with friends. But the Justice card here is getting back to the root issue, not the drama that has covered it up. And so towards the end of this month, you're going to kind of be able to put things in perspective and lay out the consequences for it and understand and accept those consequences. Like, maybe you've been slacking at work or slacking in relationships because of this Tower situation. Maybe you've been so focused on relationships and maintaining this image of like being the smartest or the most productive or the most interesting that you've been neglecting other parts of your life. And so I believe towards the end of this month, you're going to have to kind of pick up the pieces and understand the consequences that have come from this tumultuous beginning of the month. And I'm not saying any of this to scare you. I'm just kind of laying it out as it is, that there are some really beautiful things this month. There are some not so beautiful things, and then there's drama that kind of intensifies it and maybe doesn't actually help it out. But luckily we finished the month on a high note with the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands often signifies like a new beginning, hard work, travel, or an adventure of sorts. This indicates a busy time in your life where you're being fulfilled creatively, mentally, passionately, etc. I feel like at the beginning of this month for you, group number 3, there's a lot of turmoil, and the Justice card kind of comes in and says, okay, let's take a pause. Let's think about what has happened and how we can proceed forward. It's kind of like, putting the pause on and just allowing yourself to process all of this. And then once you have processed that, the next step is beginning again, but using the skills that you have learned through here. Knowing when to rely on the relationships in your life, when to rely on others for emotional support, when to let things go and just let them fall apart, and then when to use your mind, but also when to stay out of drama. And then I think that there are going to be a lot of lessons for you at the beginning of this month, and then at the end of the month, you'll be able to use them in whatever this is that you embark on. And this card often does signify jobs or something in the physical, material, or creative world that you're embarking on. But this could really be anything. This could be a new relationship that you're stepping into, a new role, a new responsibility. But at this point, when you start off on this journey, you will have all of the lessons that you've learned at the beginning of the month to help guide you. So whatever opportunity arises at the end of the month, you will be ready to take on. I also have some oracle cards to help kind of elaborate and give some advice for your month ahead. So we have, it doesn't have to be perfect, yes you can, and cultivate stillness. All right, I'm going to start with the cultivate stillness because I think that this is so important with the tumultuous, kind of drama-filled first half of your month. When things get crazy, it's really easy to lean into the Knight of Swords and enjoy the drama, kind of indulge in it, if you will. Because again, drama can be fun. It can be really interesting and engaging and entertaining. And it may also distract you from the Tower. Because if you're focused on the surface level stuff, it's keeping your mind occupied so you don't actually have to deal with the long-term or deeper implications of the Tower. And so during the beginning of the month, if you can take some time to cultivate some stillness, to just radically accept where you are, I think that that is going to be really, really important for you guys. Just taking some time, I think that the Tower and the Knight of Swords are kind of functioning at this wavelength here, and Justice will bring you down here by the end of the month. But the thing is that Justice is usually external consequences. It's like the external law or expectations. And so if you can do this for yourself without having to face some sort of consequences from others, I think that that would be really beneficial for you this month. So when things start to get crazy at the beginning of the month, take some time to take a step back, observe it almost as if from a bird's eye view, and then cultivate some stillness. Next, we have Yes You Can. And I think that this one is really important in relation to the Three of Wands because this month is so, I keep using this word, but tumultuous and dramatic and all of that. And it will kind of beat you down in a way. Justice is usually not a pleasant experience, going to court, and having to face yourself and face the choices you've made is not easy, and it can be kind of demoralizing. And so when you step into this Three of Wands, this new period of work and growth and production or productivity, understanding that yes you can, and kind of trying to reconnect to some of the confidence that may have been lost through this process. Because while these lessons are important, they do take a beating on you. So make sure you remember that you, yes you can, in spite of these issues. You still have all the skills you need when you embark on this journey, when you start this new project or this new job. Even though you have been through hard times, you are still more than capable here. And then finally, we have It Doesn't Have to Be Perfect, which I think is also so perfect for this reading because these cards are dramatic, they're kind of messy, they kind of make a lot of mistakes, and I think that it's really easy to get down on yourself and think, the Tower fell down, why did it fall on me, what did I do wrong? And kind of digging yourself out of that hole and learning those lessons, you may feel embarrassed or otherwise shameful for having had these experiences, but understanding that like nobody's life is perfect. Nobody can get through without making any mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes, and your life doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be right for you. And so as you make these mistakes, do the best you can, but understand that like the tower, which is usually external circumstances falling apart, you don't have a lot of control, and you just have to do the best you can to get through. And it may not be perfect, but you're doing your best. All right, pile number 3. I think that is all for your reading today. I hope you enjoyed this. I also hope you enjoyed my new deck. I got the Modern Witch deck, which I'm loving. If you did like the video, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe, etc. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for being here. Bye. Hello, pile number 4. If you pick the cards with the green adventuring on top, this reading is for you. All right, pile number 4. So we start off with one of the more infamous and notorious cards in the tarot deck, which is Death. For those of you who don't know, I just want to say that this does not indicate a death is going to happen in your life. That is obviously one very obvious signification, but this card more often relies to the death of an ideal, the ending of a phase in your life. This card comes after the Hanged One in the major arcana, because maybe in your August, you saw things from a new perspective, new things came into light, you kind of saw a truth in one way or another. And after seeing the truth, you cannot continue down the same path that you have been continuing down. So at the beginning of this month, there is definitely going to be some sense of grief and loss and feeling like you've kind of lost something in your life. Whether that is, like, again, this can literally signify a death, but more importantly, it could be the ending of a relationship, the ending of a phase of your life. You might be moving or otherwise changing your circumstances. So an ending of some sort. And then the Emperor is kind of here, and the Emperor can signify power and authority and existing structures, which are usually patriarchal and not beneficial to the majority of the world's population. However, in this reading, I'm getting the sense that the Emperor is more referring to routines and habits and structure in your life that you can fall back onto. When you're going through a period of grief and loss, it's really nice to have your toolkit of coping mechanisms and skills available to lean back on. The Emperor is represented by the number 4, which is about stability. It's a strong foundation to turn back onto. And of course, this is why it's hard to take down existing power structures, because the Emperor builds on a strong foundation. It may not be a good foundation inherently, but there is a strong foundation associated with the Emperor. So as you're going through this period of grief, if you can, fall back onto your foundation, knowing like what tools are best for you. When you're going through grief, do you like to journal? Do you like to get outside? Do you like to scream into a pillow? What is it that is going to help make this grief feel better? And I don't want to try and say that like you should get rid of this grief or this loss entirely, because grief and loss are a normal part of life. But can you get through it using some of your structures or your tools or your resources available to you without making it worse than it needs to be, and just working on getting through? The world feels really heavy right now for everyone, and whatever this is for you in your personal life is not helping the collective heaviness that we are feeling right now. And so just getting through it is going to be good enough. That is more than enough, and I am proud of you for just simply getting through at this point. So using the Emperor, using your resources, the Emperor also is the ruler, and so the Emperor has people at his or her or their disposal who can come in and help as needed. So when I say your resources, of course I'm talking about like your comfort or physical resources, your mental resources, as in coping mechanisms, but then also your emotional support system. And I'm not trying to say that people are resources by any means, but sometimes calling a friend can be one of your coping mechanisms. And so calling a friend as needed, doing what you need to do, kind of stepping into your power and taking control and thinking, what do I need to do right now to kind of rule myself, to govern and self-regulate? And then we move to the Three of Swords. And group number 4, I'm sorry, I feel like this month really starts off on a bit of a rough foot for you, because the Three of Swords obviously is about heartbreak and pain and loss. Whatever this is, it's going to continue throughout the month. They could be two independent events, or they might be connected in some way, but you're going to be feeling some pain this month. The good news about the Three of Swords is that the pain has already happened. The swords are already in your heart. What I want to tell you with this Three of Swords is take care of your heart. The Emperor is better with the logical and material realm. You know, this makes me feel good because it takes my mind off of things. Or this helps me stay distracted or stay focused or whatever it is. But the Emperor doesn't really dive into the emotional side. And so the Three of Swords is here to remind you to take care of your heart, to listen to your inner self, allow yourself to feel whatever pain is happening this month, because these are two of the most painful cards in the deck, and ultimately doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. Being loyal to yourself and being loyal to your needs is going to be absolutely crucial to help you through this Three of Swords period. Now, after the heaviness and the challenges, I originally interpreted this card as if you, the person getting this reading, is the Emperor. But this could also be someone in your life. This could be your school, your job, your family, the government, imposing something on you and you feeling trapped. And this grief and loss could be related to some existing power structure that is really holding you back and not allowing you to grieve or to be yourself or do what you need to do. So the Three of Swords is really here to remind you, please take care of yourselves, please listen to your heart, and do what you need to do. That being said, after this kind of dark period, I feel like this is a continuation from August. It's not like your September is going to be all bad and then all good. These cards may represent some lingering feelings left over from August, but with the Ace of Pentacles, towards the end of September, you're going to have some new opportunities coming your way. And this card does not necessarily mean like money's going to be deposited into your account right away, but it means that you're going to have the opportunity to build a new foundation for yourself. The Emperor has his foundation. It may not have been working for you, but one of the upsides to the Death card and the Three of Swords is that whatever is painful has already fallen away. There's a bit of a void in your life after these losses, and the Ace of Pentacles is here to indicate that towards the end of the month, you are going to fill that void with a new foundation. Things have kind of fallen back, and you're kind of left with your bare bones, like resources, and that is your opportunity to start fresh. This card is also a good omen for things to come, so this indicates that maybe the last week or so of September will start to look up for you. And if nothing else, good fortune is on the way. And then finally, moving on to the Four of Pentacles, this card indicates a security and financial stability that you can fall back onto. Because I think that these issues, while they obviously could be related to money or finances or a job, these cards, especially the Three of Swords, tend to indicate a more emotional or internal pain. The Four of Pentacles, much like the Emperor, is here to remind you to draw on your resources. And it may take a little bit of digging, it may take some introspection or gratitude journaling to recognize, like, what do I have? Because when you've experienced this loss and this grief, it's easy to feel hopeless and feel like you don't have anything. But the Four of Pentacles is here to remind you that you are pretty secure. Thanks to this new foundation you're building especially, things are going to kind of start looking up because you do have enough to get by. This card also is a sign that hard work is paying off. And so if you spend the majority of your month working through this loss and this grief, this card is kind of here to say at the end of the month, you're going to start to see the benefits of that. Even though the Pentacles are more concerned with like the material and physical and financial realms, you're going to kind of start to see a payoff from this internal work that you've been doing based on this loss. So you might see yourself kind of getting back into old habits and old patterns, or new habits and new patterns as represented by the Ace of Pentacles. But at the end of the month, you're going to kind of see some more stability in your life. Because the beginning of the month is defined so much by the instability, this is a really good omen that towards the end of the month, things are going to kind of start to feel a little bit more stable. You're going to feel solid ground underneath your feet, and everything will kind of start to feel more okay. It may not be perfect yet, but it will start to feel more manageable. I've also pulled a couple of oracle cards to go with this reading and give some advice for you for the month ahead. I have slow change, see with eyes of love, and be gentle with yourself. Oh my gosh, like these are so perfect for this reading, and I hope that these messages offer you some sense of comfort in this time. I think the slow change is important because at the beginning of the month we have the Death card, and at the middle of the month we have the Three of Swords, and it may feel hopeless. You may feel like it's never going to get better. It's never going to change. You're just kind of in this low slump, and you just like are getting beaten while you're down. And so with this, I want to remind you that the Ace of Pentacles is there. The sun will shine again. It just may take some time. And so being okay with sitting where you are and understanding in this moment it's painful and it will not always be like this. Change happens gradually. Towards the end of the month, you will start to feel more secure and stable, but it'll take some time to get there. We also have be gentle with yourself, which is critical when you are dealing with loss and grief. These are very human and normal emotions, but they are not talked about very often. And we used to have like mourning periods where like for a year after a loved one died, you would wear mourning clothes in public and everyone would know and respect that you were going through a really hard time. Nowadays, it's like something bad happens and you're expected to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and feel better instantly. Understand that this month is gonna bring some really hard things for you. And even though you're gonna kind of pick yourself up towards the end of the month with these two pentacle cards here, it's still gonna be really hard at times, and be gentle with yourself. Understanding that towards the beginning of the month when you're dealing with the Death card and the Three of Swords, sometimes you may just be able to get out of bed. Sometimes you can't even do that. Sometimes like just brushing your teeth will be your accomplishment for the day. Being gentle with yourself and understanding that is absolutely okay. You do not need to do any more. Change is slow, and being gentle with yourself and loving yourself where you are and accepting yourself, forgiving yourself, etc. is so important. And then finally, see with eyes of love. I think after periods of loss and grief, it can be really hard to think positively, think about love, or, you know, just like the wonderful things in life that are synonymous or parallel to love. And so I think it's really important that you see with love, see yourself with love while being gentle to yourself, and then also still seeing life with love when you can. Because like I said, this loss and this grief, this sadness that you're feeling at the beginning of the month, it kind of turns you off from love. You don't want to see with love because things are hard. How could you be happy and loving when you are experiencing this loss and this pain? But if you can, see with eyes of love, and sometimes you might just need to sit with yourself and be really loving and patient and just like say, I feel really sad right now. I am in a lot of pain right now. That is an act of love. That is so important. I think that that's the kind of love that you will need to embody during the month of September, is just radical self-acceptance and showing yourself some compassion wherever you are. Being gentle with yourself, but also going beyond just being gentle with yourself, showing love, showing care and compassion, and treating yourself the way that you would treat a loved one who is going through these hard times as well. All right, pile number 4, I believe that's all I have for your reading today. I hope that whatever this is not too draining or exhausting in your life. And remember that towards the end of the month, you will start to feel more stable again. All right, pile number 4, if you liked this reading, and if you liked my new cards, by the way, I got a new deck, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, let me know what you thought, subscribe so you can see more videos from me. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!